validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. About an hour late today. Kind of, uh, just didn't do it. That's pretty much what it was. um, no, I was getting things done towards the last minute, and then I just lost track of time and just didn't do it. So while we go live 7 nights a week, we do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. That's one of the reasons why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, and then also hit those notification buttons, smash the reaction buttons, and then potentially they'll take a look at that membership to see what's going on with the membership. Uh, we have not gotten any new news, so the information that we currently have is still current. And then I'm gonna be double checking it right after the show, and then I'm also gonna double check it again right before the show. So tomorrow probably gonna be a little late because if there is an update about boots on the ground, then you will know. Then from that time forward, we have all the rest of the stuff listed. So if you haven't had the opportunity, go and hit the notification buttons on the next 10 days because it's like the next several months, we're getting it up there. And I'm starting to piece out all of the description content and everything for the next couple of weeks so that you guys are guaranteedly able to have all of the structure that you need to provide all the information that you need to be successful. Now, since we're live 7 nights a week, we have a different topic every night of the week. Sundays tonight, we do questions and comments from the fans. So if you guys got questions about you, I've got solutions. Then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, we talk about business and politics. Uh, well, business and finance more to the magnitude. Then we talk about on Monday how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Well, no, yeah, that's what we do on Monday. How politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Then we have on Tuesdays we discuss ways that you can make money, save money, invest money, budget money, different ways to think about money, how to protect your money, all of these different things. Special shout out to OG Kicks. We cover all of those things. Then on Wednesdays we give you guys different countries around the world that y'all can invest in, which leads us into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, where we give you guys all of the rest of the stuff to make yourself successful: self development, personal improvements, relationship topics, negotiation, socializations, building your brand, discussing promotions, raises, onboarding discussions, negotiating retirements, and then also talking about the severance packages and terminations and stuff. And that's when we start giving you guys information about how to talk about your 20 or 30-year plan, where you're able to coordinate your present with your future, right? Because if you got a plan, even though things don't always go according to plan, if you've got a plan, then you have an outline. And if you start with that outline and you try to stick to that outline, you're more likely to succeed than what you would have had you not had a plan at all. Uh, Michael says it's a grand puma. All hail the puma. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, I pulled this one out of the woodwork. So um, what happened was I was doing some organization because I had just reposted up onto the membership the information that y'all needed to be successful with changing your wardrobe, right? So in practicing when I preach, I actually went through several bags and several drawers and dressers to go through the. I have probably three wardrobes worth of wardrobe, right? And I found some of these from back in my college days, and I was like, damn, these bastards look nice. I can just reasonable dark colored undershirt, throw me on something flashy on top of it, make it do what it do. So I grabbed this one for tonight. Dang, I did tell Steven that I was gonna at least once a week try to throw him down that old backdrop. I'll get it for tomorrow. Um, it is what it is. I forget from time to time, so I'll throw the old backdrop up for tomorrow. I was sitting over here thinking to myself, like I was supposed to do something. Hold on, matter of fact, I think I can do it now. Nope. Wait. Nope. Not now. Before the show. so I'll do it for tomorrow. Now that I think about it, admins, all right. So there's a lot of stuff I said I was gonna do that I ain't got to. I'll cue it up tonight so that it's ready for tomorrow night. um, but yeah, that's where we are with all of that information. So I didn't really do anything other than pull this from the bottom of the stack. You would be amazed some of the things that you have in your wardrobe when you turn your wardrobe over. Typically, we wear the clothes that we just washed and dried because those are the clothes that we favor. But there's a lot of things that you have in your closet that you haven't seen in so long. You don't know what it is and what condition it's in, and you don't consider how it would mix and match with whatever it is that you're trying to do uh, for your day-to-day operations. So it's always good. They call it spring cleaning. We're in springtime. We're creeping into summertime. It's a good time for you to go through a lot of your stuff and see what you want to keep and what you want to throw away. And in the meantime, you can see what new things you want to wear while it's hot outside, which was another reason why I was doing this because I was like, yeah, I want to put some of the other things in my accessibility that I can wear while it's hot as fuck outside so that I don't have to worry about the discomfort of it being hot outside, right? Uh, yeah. So today we're going to be doing questions and comments from the fans. We don't have a lot of them, but a couple of them are going to be a little bit long. But we're going to be dealing with some outrageous information from some of those people. This is going to be one of those as the world turns murder she wrote situations. I'm going to be making it make sense. You guys feel free to comment on it, and then keep your comments appropriately structured. Um, but if you guys got comments along the way, feel free to ask them. So let's go ahead and touch base with this because we should be able to get through this fairly quickly tonight. We should be about an hour and a half show tonight. But let's go ahead and see what we got going on.
I was incredibly honest, and I'm glad. Okay, so last week I had posted about having a hunch my wife was doing a boudoir photo shoot for me as a birthday gift. I am in no way a fan of that style of photo. It has less than nothing to do with my wife. I love her deeply. I'm attracted to her. I want her. However, I just don't like boudoir pics. They do nothing for me. Also lingerie. Doesn't do anything for me either. I don't like it. I'd rather my wife be comfortable, and it just feels like one more thing separating us from intimacy. To me and most men I know, these are pics we look at once say, oh, these are so great. Then they go into a drawer, never to be seen again. Also, what you see in those pics isn't who your wife is every day. It's a one-off, highly curated version that you rarely ever see. I love the real version of my wife. The one I see every day. The one that thinks she's a hot mess, no makeup, and just real. If she wanted to send me pro pics of that, I would truly cherish those. Understandably, the internet did what the internet does when I asked for some guidance and how I would come off in the situation. Verdict, I would have been the asshole for telling her I don't like that. Even so, I thought about my wife, me, my reactions, and all the context of our marriage, and I decided to talk to her about it. Let me add some needed context. We haven't had great luck giving gifts to each other. It's at a point I brought up just foregoing gift giving between us and just focusing on the kids. Also, I have a ton of past trauma on my birthdays that she and I are slowly peeling back in therapy. Gifts are a weird thing for me, and I honestly don't remember many truly happy birthdays. My family was great, but for whatever reason I got the short end of the stick on birthdays. I was also shamed as a kid for wanting a birthday party at a local pizza place, by my mom mostly. I act like I don't care about my birthday, but I get excited and look forward to it every year, and something normally happens, and I'm disappointed. Also, I get it. I'm a grown-ass man being excited over a birthday. It's not a big deal, but mentally I want a birthday to be great. Also, my marriage has been a roller coaster experience. For a very long period of my marriage, we had a totally dead bedroom. I won't go over the broad details, but we found out it was a chemical imbalance causing my wife's lack of libido. Then when it came back, it was an overdrive. The problem was mine was dead, and frankly, I had given up on sex as a coping mechanism to protect myself against being rejected. I had come to grips with the idea of being roommates that hold hands on the couch, and that was okay. When hers came back, I was afraid of the intimacy, but she had gotten aggressive, to the point I remember one night her mocking me for not wanting it. That hurt worse than rejection. I was trying hard to be okay with sex again. Then she took a solo trip, and she lied to me. Badly. Now, she has consistently maintained she didn't cheat. The story she told was shaky at best. But I don't want to litigate that again. That to say, I decided to work with her to make a new relationship and work past it. Fast forward a few years, lots of therapy, lots of honesty, and I thought we were in a good place. Then the photo shoot happened. One boundary we set was both of our locations are always on and shared. There's a few reasons for that, but it was agreed on. Both of us have agreed to tell the other where we are going and check in if plans change. She told me she would be at a friend's makeup. I'm sorry for not knowing the technical term. Studio, and she was going to take pics for her portfolio. It had been way longer than she normally takes, even considering the extra connected locations. She was somewhere clear across town. Trauma response kicks in. She doesn't answer her text for about an hour. Then she sees the text and starts to spew details. What it turned out is she was trying to surprise me with boudoir photos of her. At first I was relieved, then the realization kicked in what she was doing it for. As I mentioned, that's not something I want. Additionally, she had asked me about exactly this before, around a year ago, and I told her clearly, never do that for me. If you want to do that for you to feel confident and empowered, that's awesome. We can do that. That's just never been something I would want. Mostly for the reasons I shared earlier. Now, To the main part, now that you have most of the context, I decided to bring it up to her. There are two main reasons I went ahead and talked to her. First, she catches the most subtle hesitations or shifts in expressions. She would know I wasn't 10,000% into them, and that would hurt worse than the upfront honesty. Second, a boundary we set was we can't lie to each other anymore, even if it hurts, with no exceptions. So I told her. She was upset and said, I know you don't like boudoir, but I was hoping you would change your mind. She said she could never surprise me and thought that this was a way to do it. I told her I truly appreciate the effort and acknowledge its way out of her comfort zone. I'm sure I would have thought she looked great, but it's not something I would ever want. I also said she wouldn't want them hung in our home and would be hurt if they just sat in a drawer. She agreed with the latter points. She also said a reason she did them was to be seen, and I asked about that. Admittedly, I was taken aback by it because I thought our relationship was improving. She agreed it was, but between my work, an issue I've been having with anxiety and depression, and school, she felt I didn't see her the same way anymore. We talked about it more the next therapy session. I didn't realize how my schedule and issues were affecting my wife. I was totally blind to it. So we set new boundaries that apply exclusively to me to make sure I don't neglect what she needs. At least 2 nights a week, I can't work on anything after work, and I have to go to bed with her those nights. That's actually a massive change for me. I'm used to pulling 3 to 5 all-nighters every week with my work and studies. I'm a PhD candidate. There was a period I did 6 all-nighters every week. Not a joke. My mental health went to shit.
Okay.
Ultimately, I'm glad I told her. Even the best scenario, not telling her would have ended up hurting her
He's got
much
more.
worse. Getting that out in the open allowed us to actually talk about what was bothering us and
Yeah,
forced
he
us to
does.
confront those things. It took a couple of days to get over, but we ended up having some truly great days together this past week. I forgot how much laying together and just laughing at nonsense meant. It was a solid break from how busy I had become. I was still depressed and working through trauma on my birthday,
Jesus.
but that's now another story. This level of honesty may not be for everyone. That's fine. A lot of you will probably still call me an asshole. Also
No.
fine. Ultimately, it's what was needed for another breakthrough with us.
After how many dates?
Okay, hold on before we go on to the next one. Well, okay, I kind of got to disagree with you on that one, Michael. So here's the subtext of the situation. First issue that he has, the biggest issue that he has, is that his wife is taking inappropriate photos as a gift for him when he is not going to do anything with that. He does not value those things, and he made it clear to his wife that he doesn't value those things. So she should not do that for him. If she's going to do it for herself, she wants to feel good about herself. She wants to take certain photos and whatever the case may be, then by all means do it for yourself. So he's not forbidding her from performing this action. He's just saying, hey, don't waste that effort on me because I will not value that. Now, ultimately, she's not really shaming him and making him feel bad about his position, but she is ignoring his position. If I tell you that I'm not more attracted to you if you put on lingerie than what I am with you if you don't have lingerie on, and then you waste money on lingerie just so that you can wear that specifically for me, knowing that that does nothing for me, you completely ignored what I said, right? Now, because you're putting in this effort to try on this outfit and make it fit and all this, that, and the other, and then you're spending money on it and all this, that, and the other, you know, your effort into this gift that I told you I would not like is going to be rejected by the fact that when I get the gift, I'm not going to like the gift. And I already know that if you give me something that I don't like, appreciate, or value the way you want me to, you are going to be upset about that. So to prevent you from being upset about that, I'm telling you, don't do those things for me because that does nothing for me, right? Now, what he failed to do was tell her some things that she can do for him that he actually would be able to value and appreciate and be able to take with high esteem. And it might be something very simple that she can do that doesn't require as much effort, right? So there was one thing that he could have improved there. The other thing where you were talking about erectile dysfunction, self-preservation is not erectile dysfunction. A man that has a woman that's going through emotional issues where she is not willing to be intimate, he cannot force intimacy out of her just because that's his wife. So that man has to, for however many months or years that she's not willing to perform, shut down that version of himself, which ultimately puts that man in a position where he no longer looks for intimacy from his wife, which puts that man in a position to be emotionally dead in that category. That is not erectile dysfunction. Also, the fear of rejection, where he may have been rejected a number of times, and then through all the therapy they went through, he realized that that rejection was coming from her condition. So his empathy towards her condition to not pressure her to be intimate because of her condition would lead him to, now that she's recovering from her condition, show a bunch of red flags because she's putting him in the position of intimacy when he has developed what is called a pattern of behavior to not look forward to or engage in intimacy. If he had to make intimacy a dangerous place to be in order to prevent himself from engaging in that, now all of his defense mechanisms are rejecting that intimacy. He's got to work himself back out of that. The consequences of traumatic episodes from your partner can lead you to have traumatic episodes in your current relationship. So it's not really erectile dysfunction. Um, but yes, like you did say, even in the bedroom, there needs to be communication. Um, One of the things that women don't pay attention to is that when you are in a relationship, especially when you're married, there is a level of physical intimacy that must occur because you're putting him in a box where all of his needs must come from you. Because if he fulfills those needs from someone else when you're not in the mood, if he gets it from somebody else, he's cheating, right? So whenever he's in the mood, you are supposed to provide that for him, whether you feel like it or not, because the agreement that you have with him is that he'll only get it from you. That's monogamy. So if he's only going to get it from you, then you've got to give it to him whenever he's looking for it. If you're going to put him in a box and says, well, my body, my choice, and I'm only going to give it when I feel like it, fine. But if I want it, I should be able to get it when I want it. So now we have a conflict of interest. If you're going to shut down intimacy, he wants intimacy. Now you need to make a loophole. Either you're going to fulfill his intimacy when his intimacy comes about, or you're going to allow him to fulfill his own intimacy somewhere else because you don't feel like it and still maintain the marriage. But you can't make a man emotionally dead because you don't feel like it. Then when you feel like it, then you're going to pressure him and shame him because he stopped trying to perform because you continue to shut him down until he just stopped trying at all. He completely removed this from his character because you have shut him down for so long and so often that that doesn't make any sense. Um, Michael said, he said role playing and whips and chains. This dude does have a lot of hangups. He does have a lot of hangups, but he does make a little bit of sense when the man was talking about the main issue about he's not really an asshole. He's articulating his concerns clearly. He's feeling ignored, which is why he's going on a long tangent here, because he made it clear to his wife what he doesn't think is good. But he said, who's wearing the lingerie? His wife would have been wearing the lingerie. So, and that's going to be another issue because he said that that doesn't do anything for him. Like, for example, I don't know, me and a lot of guys that are like me aren't really chasing the girls in the lingerie, but maybe short shorts and a halter top with your belly button hanging out might be attractive if you're wearing that for me. But if you're wearing it out in the street, we're like, nah, that's not okay. So like if you was wearing the booty shorts in the house for me, that might be one thing. But you wearing booty shorts out in the street, that's not what I want my wife to do. The short mini skirt might be something that you would do for me in the house, but the short mini skirt for you to be wearing for other men to enjoy out in the street, that's not going to be okay for me. You know what I mean? So you got to understand that the he says then he has to hang up. No, she has to hang up because you have to understand that the biggest issue is that he told her before she started doing this a year or two ago, taking lingerie style photos for the husband is a no-go. Do not do it. He's not going to value it. He's not going to like it. He might look at the photo and say, "You look good today." Put that photo in a drawer and never see it again. They're inappropriate photos of your wife, so he's not going to have those pictures and show it off to his friends and his colleagues at work. It's an inappropriate photo of his wife. So it's exclusively for him that he'll look at once or twice like Pokemon cards and then put it in a drawer full of the whole collection and never fuck with it again. Anybody who's got trading card games from when we were small, y'all know those bubblegum trading baseball cards from back when we were kids, the Pong and all that shit. If you even still got that, it's somewhere in a box in a dark room somewhere in a storage facility somewhere. We never look at it again. We got it. We liked it when we had it in the moment we received it. But a week after we had it, we put it somewhere and we forgot about it. Because it's not something that with pride we're going to share it with our friends. It's not something that with pride that we're going to share with our colleagues. It's something that I'm going to look at exclusively. But it's not like a hustler where, oh, I'm going to use this to replace physical intimacy, right? So, since he has a wife, if she wants him to see her more and value her more, then she should have probably, instead of wasting money on some man taking inappropriate photos of her, she should have went to the store with him, had him pick out certain attractive outfits that he would like to see her in, and then she only wear that at the house with him. Then she would have gotten a better reaction because nothing might, like, for example, those men that like a woman in French maid outfit. Think about that for a second. So you don't even have to really be doing nothing of value in the house. You could put on a French maid outfit and then just wander around the house and just pretend like you clean and stuff until I catch you. And then all of a sudden that's going to turn into a naughty video. Okay. All it took was you knowing what he wants and then do that where he can see it. And then you will get a better response. So when the man said, "This is not going to get the response you're looking for, but she's going to do it anyway because she figured that he would change his mind." If I tell you that I don't like something, what the fuck would make you think that I'm going to change my mind because you're doing it? Is it even though he didn't like it? Even though he didn't like it, right? The pictures are for him and her only, so you get a pair of deuces. But the thing is that the picture, he doesn't want the picture, and he told her a year before she started doing the pictures, "Don't do the pictures." Now they've already had a rough patch in their marriage where she probably went somewhere and cheated. They didn't go through some couple therapy. There's a little bit of resentment there. But the fact of the matter is that the older he gets, the lower his libido is going to be, and the older she gets, the higher her. The closer she gets to menopause, the more she's going to be hornier than a jackrabbit. So I mean, when she wasn't in the mood, she should have let him get as many bodies under his belt as possible so that she could have the scorecard, which I always tell y'all shouldn't be keeping score, but you have a scorecard and be like, "Well, damn, you had 15 bodies under your belt when I wasn't in the mood to do it. Now that you're not in the mood, I'm gonna get 25 bodies under my belt and just make it do what it do." I still love you, but I'm gonna get ran through the same way. I don't really agree with that, but I mean, damn. Touche. It's like the only way that it works. I always wonder why centerfolds do not have a scratch and sniff. Well, there are some, and it depends on which magazines that they were in, because not all hustlers had the scratching and stuff. It would have been like a name brand cologne. It would not have been the person's actual body smell, right? So it would have been the cologne that they would have been promoting at the time because the magazine is utilizing photos of women to get you to buy the book, and then they would sell things that men would want out of the book. They would have a small article in there about who the person in the picture is and what their backstory was. But ultimately, it was a magazine like every other magazine that was designed to sell stuff. The photos of the girls and the ads that were in the book, it was designed to sell stuff. So if they were to have a scratch and sniff on there, it would be about a cologne that a man would like. Do you think you would get a divorce over her taking pictures? I think I could live with it. No, it's not about the pictures, Michael. It's about her not following instructions. Would I get divorced if I'm continuously telling my wife what I prefer and she's doing the exact opposite of that? Well, one of the things that I tell you guys on a regular basis is that I prefer to have a woman that's obedient. Obedient means cooperative. Obedient means that you're going to, when I say don't do something, that you're going to not do it. And since I'm giving you a reason why you shouldn't do it, ultimately you now have the motive to not do it because I said don't do it. Now, some women are going to say, oh, that's misogynistic. No, it's not. Because when the shoe is on the other foot, you're going to tell me not to do certain things, and I'm not going to do it simply because you said so, not because you have a logical or rational reason for it, just because you told me not to. So at the end of the day, outside of things that we can negotiate, where I would prefer you not do it for me, but if you're going to do it, you can do it for yourself. you know, if I say, don't get me explicit photos of you as a gift to me, because I'm not going to value that. If you get explicit photos for yourself, I got no complaints because it's not about you taking the photo. It's about you using that photo as a gift to me, especially like the man was talking about extensively for a birthday present. If I told you, y'all remember when we was kids and we would tell mom and dad and grandma and grandpa, don't buy us clothes for our birthday and for Christmas. Now, we understand that parents do two birds, one stone kind of behavior patterns. So instead of buying us clothes all year and then buying us toys for Christmas, they'll buy us clothes close to our birthday. They'll buy us clothes close to Christmas, and they'll give us those clothes as gifts, which covers a twofold, right? Because now I got new clothes and it's considered a gift as a birthday present because I didn't have to work for it. I didn't earn it. So it's a gift. So it's a birthday gift because you give me what you bought for me for my birthday. I think people take that out of context. If I never buy you anything and make you earn everything, the one time I give something to you, it's a gift. If I always give you what you need, I am not supposed to give you what you need as a gift. I'm supposed to give you what you want as a gift. Right? That's the logic behind that. Now, if a kid says, "Don't give me clothes for my birthday," then you give me clothes for my birthday. I'm going to be disappointed because you gave me clothes. I told you what I wanted for my birthday. You didn't give me that. You gave me what I didn't want for my birthday. Now I'm disappointed. The fact that I'm disappointed is not the worst part. The worst part is that you are going to be upset and frustrated at me because I don't appreciate the gift that you gave me after I told you that that specific gift is not what I want, and I'm not going to be happy with that gift if I get it. So then you're going to get it anyway, and then expect me to be grateful for getting me exactly what I said I don't want. That would lead to divorce. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And they would do it anyway. Exactly what I said I don't want. That's what you're going to get me. That would lead to divorce because you're not listening. A woman would get pissed off if she says she wants Chick-fil-A for lunch and I come back with anything except Chick-fil-A. There's going to be conflict in the house because I did not come back with the Chick-fil-A that she says she wanted. And especially if she says she didn't want a specific restaurant, like a lot of women are saying, I don't want Cheesecake Factory. If I specifically went to Cheesecake Factory and brought everything back from Cheesecake Factory, she would be pissed because she specifically said what she wanted, specifically said what she didn't want, and I did the exact opposite and got what she didn't want and said, fuck what you want, you're going to get what I give you. Now, most women are going to say that is abusive behavior if a man does it. And I agree. If a man says, fuck what you want, you're going to get what I give you, that's abusive behavior. So when a woman does the same behavior and says, fuck what my husband wants, I'm going to give him what I want him to have, and he better appreciate it. Again, it is still abusive behavior. So when the man was talking about how he felt some kind of way about what she did, I agree. I agree. She should not have did it. Not because she did it secretively, because if you have a fully transparent relationship, he said, now you sound like a brat. No, I'm not a brat. I'm being realistic. If you're not getting what you want out of the relationship after you've declared what you want, specifically when you're saying what you don't want, you're not saying I want a PS5 and the next GTA 6. You're saying don't get me these explicit photos that requires you to model in an inappropriate fashion with half naked in front of a strange, probably dude that I would prefer you not have to model in front of anyway, so that you can acquire this photo, so that God knows how many people who are going to develop go through the process of getting this photo developed to get that copy of that photo to me, so that me and every other man in between the action and the gift actually seeing my wife in this inappropriate position. You're going to do that after I said I don't want that. That's not being a brat. That's being responsible and articulating in advance that I would prefer that this not occur. Right now, because you're going to do whatever you want, that doesn't change the fact that once you've done it, I'm still not going to be happy with it. Now, you can do it for yourself, but I told you don't do that for me. Right. So when you say, well, I'm being unreasonable because I'm setting a standard. Now, one of the things that this guy did, he got boundaries mixed up, because a boundary is a wall. I believe that you should have non-negotiable expectations for behavior. I don't believe you should have boundaries. And then he got boundaries mixed up with routine. Routine is when you have to, when he started changing the way he performs when he gets home from work. That's not a boundary. That's an expectation of performance. So when you get home from work, instead of ignoring your wife and focusing on your PhD, when you get home from work, you focus on your wife and then go to your PhD. That makes sense. Prioritization. But that's not a boundary, but he called it a boundary, right? He said, next year you're getting what want absolutely nothing. That's fine. But you got to recognize, though, Michael, in those situations, do you understand how selfish the giver of the gift is? If you tell the gift giver, at least these are things that I would not be happy with as a gift. And then the gift giver gets exactly what you know I'm not going to be happy with as a gift. Then resentfully, because I don't appreciate the gift because you did what you wanted, not what I told you, then that resentment says, well, next year I'm not going to get you anything. Well, my response to that is, well, never spend any money on me, because you're not going to do what I told you, which is don't get me certain things that I will not value or appreciate, which is a waste of money to begin with. You would do better handing me some cash that I can invest into a stock portfolio than to be giving me a gift that cost you money after I told you before you spent the money that I would not like that gift. Plain and simple. He said, no birthday, no no presents, nothing. And cook your own dinner. And she would get divorced. She would get divorced because you're not listening to your husband and you're doing whatever you want. Your husband tells you what makes him unhappy, and you're going to tell him, I'm going to give you exactly that, and you should be happy anyway. That doesn't make sense. Just because you did it doesn't mean I should be happy about it. You know, because if the again, I say again, if the roles were reversed, a man would not do for a woman that he knows or she told him that these things make her unhappy. If a man were to do exactly the things that would make that woman unhappy and then say, you should appreciate what I'm doing for you, she would leave him because he is not doing what makes her happy. He said, in fact, the bedroom is off limits. Sleep on the couch. No, she would have been outside the house with the doors locked with that type of behavior. This is funny right here. This is funny because men predominantly, in the majority of relationships, pay for the majority of the standard living, including the damn bed. When did it become tradition that the dependent dictates what the head of household does in the house? You can get mad at me because you did what I told you not to do after I told you I would not be happy with that. And now that I'm not happy with that, you can develop resentment towards me because you too fucking hard headed to respect my wishes, and you can take your ass onto the couch. But why do I gotta sleep on the couch? Because you do not value me enough to listen to me when I tell you what I don't want for a birthday present. That is a level of abuse that is completely unacceptable. Does that make sense? How did it become the man's fault when he told his wife 2 years before she got that gift, don't get that gift for me? I will not appreciate that. So she knew a year and some change ahead of time. And she did it anyway. If she put him on the couch, he gonna put her out the house if he's smart. Change the locks and everything, move a whole nother female in there because that make no damn sense. for her to be trying him like that. He said, are your standards high? Most men's standards are not high. Most men would prefer a woman to not cause him a headache, and not following instructions causes the man headache. Make sure that the man don't starve to death. So go in there and go cook something, clean up some stuff around the house that he ain't had time to clean, and then make yourself available for him when he come to give you some time and attention. There ain't that many things that a man is going to ask a woman to do, and society makes men more responsible for the finances and the estate than anything. So she's not handling none of the bills. She's not balancing none of the budget. She's not handling the portfolio. She's not lifting nothing heavy. She's not moving nothing. She's not organizing nothing outside of the laundry and the dishes. And maybe if there's some kids there, she's choosing to deal with the kids. Outside of that, all she got left is to spend some time with the man. But the entire atmosphere that she exists in is all handled and budgeted by this man, right? So the standards aren't that high. So once because the standards aren't that high, when dude says don't do something, don't do it. Women got high standards. And because women have such high standards and the men have to jump and succeedingly broad jump over each one of those fucking hurdles, no matter how high that hurdle gets, that man's got to broad jump over the hurdle in order to stay in a relationship. And since men have to jump over so many hurdles to stay in that relationship, it is a woman's responsibility to provide the level of obedience where she reciprocates that behavior. For every hurdle that she makes her boyfriend jump through to get to being a husband, is for every hurdle that a woman should voluntarily be willing to jump through to stay the fucking wife. So if she ain't willing to jump over them hurdles that she laid down for him, then no, we're not. If we're not both doing the same fucking obstacle course for one another, there's a level of biased behavior, and that's unacceptable. He said, take it back and return it and get the money, but you can't. It's a naked photo of your wife. What are you gonna do? Go back to Walmart and say, "Oh, what this?" They charged you to print it out. You might be able to return the picture frame, but the fucking cost for the photo to be printed out, they're not gonna unprint the photo because you don't want it. He said, sometimes in relationships, if your exceptions are too high, you can silently sabotage the relationship. Yes, that is true. Sometimes if your relationship is too high, if your expectations are far too high, you can silently sabotage the relationship. So that means that you guys have to articulate um you have to articulate the needs and desires that you want, and then collaborate with your partner on how to accomplish that. Now, real quick, Steven, he said YouTube is not showing you live. No, I'm live, buddy. I am definitely live. He said I cannot click on the account picture and go to your live. I had to scroll down your live to get here today. There is a issue with YouTube every now and again when they're doing software updates. And the issue turns out sometimes, depending on where you're clicking, if you click the photo for the hyperlink, it sometimes just pulls up the photo, which is why you subscribe to the channel. Um, the weird part is though, if you see the show, like there, the picture, the funny thing is that if you click the picture, it takes you straight to the show. Not okay, so not clicking on the little circle at the bottom of the screen over here. The whole like you see me talking, you see the and then the center of the screen, you just click that center of the screen, the hyperlink sometimes is functioning there. And it is a YouTube defect. But no, I'm definitely live right now. I'm definitely live right now. Matter of fact, I was able to click the button just to make sure, because I'll be checking to make sure that the shit's working. You got to understand, Steven, because I done gone through a lot of politics recently, and I've been talking about the war recently. I'll be checking to see if YouTube gonna ban my ass. So I'll be checking to see if I got any warnings, if I got any you're not going live anymore situations, shadow bans, anything to that effect. I'll be taking a look for that stuff. No, I'm still live. I'm still live. But YouTube is always improving their software, and they're always updating the platform. And sometimes in the bottom corner of the pro of the account, where you normally click the picture that's got the brand logo of the podcast there. Sometimes you click that and it doesn't take you anywhere. Sometimes you got to click the words. Sometimes you got to click the image above the title of the show. If you click the image, it should always take you directly to the show. And if it says live and you click the image, it'll take you directly to the live show if that particular show was live. Now, one of the easier things to do is do exactly what you did today is like click subscription. Uh, you see mine, you've got the little red dot on there. Click on that, then go down, click live, and then it'll show you whichever show is live. And then you just click the image in the center of the thing above the title, and it'll take you straight to the live show. That's one of the ways that I do it. But that's a YouTube thing. So I recognize I was a little late today. I recognize that it'll be a little bit difficult for people to get a hold of me every now and again. But no, that button still works. It just doesn't always take you directly to the live show. But the show is still running live right now. He said, then I won't get that gift, but sometimes the way you come across it is demeaning. Well, Michael, most men have to submit to the fact that we're not allowed to talk about what we want. We're not allowed to talk about how we feel about things. We're not allowed to be clear about what makes us happy. The society has put men in a position where men are supposed to be happy wife, happy life, where we do everything we can to worship the ground the woman walks on. And then feminism walks all over the values of the man. So we're not going to get reciprocation. You won't get me, you're not supposed to get me a gift that I don't want. And it is not demeaning when I tell you that you're ignoring my values by doing the exact opposite of what I say. Now, because I'm articulating it in a dominating position, because at the end of the day, we already understand that if you're going to get what you want from me, half of this negotiation is already over. The other half of the negotiation is what am I going to get from you? Now, if I'm articulating to you because you didn't ask, and if you did ask, I told you, and you're doing the exact opposite, and both of those are a problem. I asked you what you wanted to make you happy. You told me, and I did it. If I didn't ask what would make you happy, you passed by me and told me what you wanted to make you happy, and I did that. Both of those dynamics is the same as when you ask me what makes me happy, and I tell you, don't do that. That's not going to make me happy. Do this. Same thing if you didn't ask and I passed by you and say, you know what would make me happy if you did this, this, and this. Or you know what would make me less happy if you did that. And the thing that I told you that would make me less happy, that's what you decide to do and you want me to appreciate that. I'm going to be honest with you, that's not demeaning. You're actually gaslighting me by saying that articulating my likes and dislikes, standing on my non negotiable expectations for a behavior, and my willingness to reciprocate, providing the same value to you that I'm expecting from you is demeaning. I'm going to be honest with you. That's a very misandristic mentality to have is that a man cannot articulate his wants, needs, and desires to his partner, but his partner can have a laundry list of demands that the man must meet, or the man is not considered valuable. He said, I'm not your maid, I'm not your servant, I'm your wife. And in those dynamics, she is not a wife because wives are helpful. And when women believe that being a maid is and being a servant is separate away from separate and apart from the dynamic of being a equivalent partner, well, do you expect the man to do the work because you don't want to help out around the house? In those dynamics, she's not willing to be a wife. When women start providing these types of complaints, Michael, I love the devil's advocate that you're putting up here. When women start putting up these complaints, I'm not your maid, I'm not your servant. There's a difference between me throwing clothes all over the place and making you pick them up versus you helping with the laundry because I'm doing something else at the same time. If you're at the house more often than I'm at the house, you should be able to get certain things done. If we're both at the house where I work from home, but you have nothing to do and I've got a lot of stuff to do, you should be able to do the things that needs to get done because I've got too many things to do where I can't get over there and get that done. It is what it is. It's called a reasonable balance. It's not going to be equality. It's not going to be 50-50. It's going to be a reasonable balance. Because I wasn't talking about the photo. It doesn't matter if it was a photo. It doesn't matter if it was a gift. It doesn't matter. It If a man says this action is going to make me unhappy and that's the action that the wife does, that's a wrap, bro. That's a problem in the making. Uh, he said that would be funny though. Walmart photo center. Walmart photo center. Hey, I don't want to fuck with this. I don't want this photo no more. Take it back. Oh yeah, so you had the same problem too, Michael. I actually logged in manually. It says live though. It says that there's live chat is active. We're interactive. Uh, I'm seeing the show is running live right now. I don't know what's going on though. I even say 50. I see 50 minutes across the screen with live 50 minutes and 43 seconds live, and we got a lot of people popping in from the shorts reel. So it's got to be something going on with them. He said, software upgrade on a 3 weekend. Either the upgrades are automatic or a lot of people working. It could be automatic because you gotta check your web browsers if you're doing this on a computer and update Google, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, all of that stuff. Because I've been getting a lot of updates recently. You're gonna have to update your cell phone if you haven't updated your cell phone recently, because that's gonna impact everything. And then update the YouTube app itself if you're doing this from your if you're watching from your cell phone. Update your app itself because if they put up updates and you don't get the updates, the website doesn't work the way it's supposed to work, and then you got to do the manual override in order to get to where you want to go. But no, we were live today. We were definitely live. We were an hour late though, so it's not like you were here and you couldn't find me because I was live and I wasn't. I started an hour late. Yeah, he said I made it because I know you don't let the sun rise. But I was an hour late though, Steven. So if you click that button trying to get to the show at like 30 minutes after the hour, 30 minutes after you click that button, I started the show. So I was an hour late today. He said if it's not 50-50 or at least 60-40, uh, time to time with me, the effort flipping at times I'm cool. I agree with that, Stephen. Is I know women who hold men down, but they are in relationships. They are out there, but hard to find. The hardest thing to find, those are the gems that men talk about that are the women of value, right? So when podcasts, some podcasts just come out there like, women ain't shit mentality, and I don't agree with that. Anytime that a man says that women ain't shit, or anytime that a woman says men ain't shit, that's somebody who's been through a lot of trauma. I can tell you that the less valuable women that men encounter more often than the valuable women that the men encounter is because the less valuable women are not girlfriend material, they're not wife material, so they're always single, so they're always in the collective of single girls that you have to interact with. It's like trying to fish, and every time you fish, you pull out that same fish with the missing eye and the pus coming out of his mouth. Like you don't want that fish, but every time you put your pole in the water, you pull out that same damaged goods. It's pretty much just like that. When we're out there trying to date, especially if we're in a dating pool where a lot of the women are behaving in a low quality behavior, even if they're not a low quality woman because they're going along with the trends of their sisterhood. The problem is that you as a man cannot find the valuable woman because she is mixed up with a lot of women that do not carry themselves with value, which is why we say that your social network plays a huge role in your relationship success. Because as a man, if you are a valuable man, but you're hanging around with a bunch of bums, she's going to look at you as a bum with the rest of the bums that you're hanging out with. The same way, if she is a valuable woman and she's hanging out with a bunch of OnlyFans girl, you're gonna assume that she's an OnlyFans girl. You just haven't found her profile yet. So at the end of the day, the diamond in the rough, the rare gem that men are looking for, while these women do exist and they are hard to find. And the irony is that there's a larger quantity of valuable women than there are a quantity of non-valuable women, but the non-valuable women are seen more often than the valuable women because the valuable women keep their shit together. The non-valuable women are always out there flaunting what they're not supposed to flaunt, and we see that. But the valuable women, they're not out there. So like I don't really have an idea of exactly where to go to find the women of value except at work. Because women of value be working hard ass jobs. He said, there's the word dominating. Yeah, very dominating. Very dominating. He said, nothing wrong with telling them. It's the approach on how you're saying it. Michael, 50 years ago, I understand what you're saying, Michael, and I'm all hands up with it. 50 years ago, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Look, if what you're doing does not make me happy, it is not how I say it, it is what I'm saying. I am telling you that this does not make me happy. Now, if you don't listen to that, the next time you get the delivery, it is cut this bullshit out. You're not going to like the delivery. Again, like I told you before, there's no nice way to tell people that they're fucking up. So once you start articulating that they're fucking up, that's when they're going to get defensive, which is why we have to come from a third person perspective that says, well, instead of me pointing out the fact that you fucked up, let's point out how the situation isn't where we would prefer it to be, and then articulate how we're going to accomplish getting it to where we would prefer it to be. Well, if the man said that he doesn't want his wife taking photos and giving it to him as a gift, how do we fix that problem? You got to stop giving me photos as a gift. Because I'm not going to accept them. Uh, right, right. That's it. That's it. That's it. You're gonna cook the dinner. I might come in and wash the dishes when I got time. You cook the clothes, but and I'll get back to work. Then you clean the house. And yeah. He said, just for those coming in, we role playing. He said, if you get to 71 and you're not jaded, you've never been in a relationship. Well, been in quite a few relationships, and I'm not gonna I'm gonna say that I'm not jaded, but I can't definitively prove that I'm not jaded because I understand that being flexible still has its limitations in a relationship. Being flexible still requires, as a man, for me to articulate clearly what I don't want to happen. That's standing on my non-negotiable expectations for behavior. So if I decide to not tell you that what you're doing is making me unhappy, then I would be allowing myself to be unhappy in a relationship. And what we don't want to do is develop the resentment for the other person in the relationship because the other person in the relationship is not performing adequately, right? So being able to be clear about what I don't want requires a dominating approach. And the dominating approach is going to have to happen specifically because as a man, I'm supposed to be the leader. And this is what the women want. They want a leader. So since they want a leader, I'm not going to ask for permission for you to respect me. I'm going to tell you what to do to respect me, and you're going to choose to stay here. You're going to choose to get the fuck on. But I'm not going to ask you for permission to be respected. I'm going to demand respect. I'm going to voluntarily respect you, which requires the added demand of reciprocation of respect. He said, it takes time to roll through those rough edges, all of a diamond. But see, the thing about a diamond is that you're not trying to rub down those rough edges of a diamond. Diamonds can be perfect and still have sharp, jagged edges. They can still do things that hurt you, right? Diamond with a perfect cut can still be expensive. The problem is not the rough edges of the diamond, because again, I've said this a plenty of times in the past that if you have somebody that meets about 80% of your expectations and the other 20% that you can tolerate that, then tolerate that, you know, because nobody's perfect, right? You might be the kind of person that doesn't like tattoos and piercings, and the girl's got tattoos and piercings, but she's a sweetheart. She's catering to your every whim. She's like a personal assistant. You don't even have to ask for stuff. She's observant to the magnitude where she gets stuff done for you before you even have a chance to ask her to help you out, right? She might fill in the blanks in ways that makes those piercings and tattoos not matter anymore, right? She's modest about it. So while she's got those tattoos, and you can see those tattoos when y'all are romping around in the sheets, when she leave the house, don't nobody know she got tattoos because she stay covered up. There are things, right? She might wear the nose piercings and stuff like that around the house, but when she goes somewhere with you in front of your family, in front of your boss and stuff, like, she'll take the piercings out without you having to say nothing because she doesn't want you to look bad. So in those dynamics, the rough around the edges is not just striking a pet peeve. It is just the fact that we're not perfect. We're not going to be exactly the same, but you are willing to compromise so that you can maintain your integrity in a relationship and you can maintain my integrity in a relationship, because a lot of times your partner can bring you down, right? The good old boys with investments and everything to that effect, a man is not going to want to do business with another man that doesn't have his house in order. And his house in order doesn't just mean that his actual physical house is clean. His relationship has to be under control. And it's not a servitude type control. It is a level of organization where there's compromise and communication between him and his partner, where they're on the same page when a deal is struck. Why? Because if your money gets put into my deal and your wife pulls your money out of my deal falls through. So you and your wife has to be on the same page so that when you put your money on a table, it is staying on a table, which means that you have to get your house in order. If you don't have your house in order, your wife will pull the money off the deal behind your back. And now I don't have a stable income coming from you, which means I can't close the deal using you, which means I got to replace you with a man whose house is in order. I can replace you with a woman whose house is in order, because even if she was the one that was the head of household, he can't get into a deal with me if her husband is pulling the money off the table. It's the same dynamic. So y'all got to be on the same page. And if y'all aren't on the same page with little shit around the house, how the fuck y'all gonna be on the same page with $500,000 deals that we're trying to do over here? So it's not just about the diamond being rough around the edges. It's just about, deliberately fucking up is a whole lot different than accidentally making a mistake. Is that to have a good relationship, it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. You are right. It is going to take time. But what you also have to understand, Michael, is that in order for the relationship to be good enough, more than satisfactory, the first thing you have to do is make sure that both sides of the relationship are satisfied. If only the wife is satisfied, there is still a problem. If only the husband is satisfied, there's still a problem. So the issue is that in order for you to work through this problem, what you have to do is, as a man, you have to put all your cards on the table and tell your wife what you are satisfied with in the marriage and what you're not satisfied in the marriage. And there's not going to be a nice way to deliver that. She has to write down the core problem, get past the delivery, and then figure out a solution. Because we can go to therapy so that a woman can tell me how I can tell the woman that I'm married to in a way that the woman will receive it, how to stop being a bitch. But at the end of the day, if that is the problem, the issue isn't the delivery. The issue is the behavior pattern that requires this type of message to be delivered. So, yes, a relationship is going to take time, but from day one, her non negotiable expectations for behavior is supposed to be fundamentally on the table. Her flexible expectations are supposed to be on the table, and her unrealistic expectations should be taken off the table. Now, when we get to the man, his non negotiable expectations are going to be put on that exact same table. His flexible expectations are going to be put on that exact same table. And the average man doesn't have unrealistic expectations outside of thinking that this woman is not going to be a problem over time. That is unrealistic. Both need to communicate. Yes, but when men communicate, society needs to not shame men for communicating by saying, "Oh, you're being too dominant," or "you're being too demanding." No, fuck that shit. If to you I'm being demanding, that's because I haven't asked for enough shit. I haven't asked for anything from you often enough for you to be used to me asking for things. So when I do start asking for things, I'm starting to be too demanding. But you know what? If you came to me as many times as I went to you and asked me, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Is there something I can do to help you? Why are you sad? What can I do for you? What can I do to make you smile?" All of this shit. This is what men do every day. And more times than any, the women say, "Nothing. I'm all right. It's fine. Everything's good." When she clearly has a fucking problem at that moment, right? So it's not that the man is too demanding. He's under received by the woman. She's used to that behavior. And now that he is starting to speak up for himself, now she is getting overwhelmed by the fact that she actually has a man that needs to be maintenance. But if you treat men like cars and you never change the oil, you never do a tune up, you never change the tires, you never change the brakes, you never change out transmission, but eventually you're going to have to do a bunch of maintenance on this fucking car. Men are going to be the same way. There's preventative maintenance where you proactively go and find solutions to problems before they become severe. And then there's delayed reaction where you just have to deal with the fallout and then fix the catastrophic failure that happened after the fallout. The second one is going to cost you more time, money, and effort than the first one. You're going to let each other know what they want in a relationship, right? Why go to therapy? We haven't even talked. Hey, I'm on that part. I don't even feel like why we take it. We spend a lot of money going to therapy, and I can actually ask that question. Now I think about it. We go to therapy in relationships because we have to talk to a third person so that that third person can tell the first person who doesn't want to listen to shut the fuck up and listen. That's why we go to therapy. And it doesn't matter if it's the man or the woman, because there's some situations where the woman isn't feeling heard, she doesn't feel seen, and that's because the man isn't paying attention. So in therapy, in those types of therapy sessions, the therapist will make the man pay attention. There's also situations where the role is reversed, where the man is not being heard, the man is not being seen, and the therapist tells the wife to pay attention. That's what therapy is for. Shut up and listen. That's what therapy is for. It's a harsh way to deliver the information, but that's what it is. It is shut up and listen, not wait for your turn to rebuttal. Shut up and listen. Take in the information and then try to negotiate a solution. Don't rebuttal, negotiate a solution. Take rebuttal completely out of your response and negotiate a solution. Whatever his complaint is, negotiate a solution. And it has got to be a solution that favors him if it is not a balanced solution where both of you benefit. He must benefit as one of both of y'all out of whatever issue he has because he's the one with the problem. Because if roles were reversed, she has to benefit from the solution if she's the one with the problem. Is I'll bring the scoreboard. You might as well bring tasers and we're going to shock each other when we're pissed off. Because I just tell them I don't appreciate that. If it continues, then it becomes a problem. Okay, I appreciate that, or I don't appreciate that. If it continues, it becomes a problem. But if this is the third time that you said you don't appreciate that, now it's a problem. At this point, you need to say, cut it out. You're going to have to stop doing that. They're not going to want to hear that. But you've already politely said, hey, this is becoming a problem. You've already politely said, I don't like when this is happening. You are politely saying, this makes me unhappy. You are politely saying, this frustrates me. This annoys me. This is one of my pet peeves. This irks my nerves. This negatively impacts me in so many different ways, and they're still doing it. After a while, it's like, you know what? You don't have to cut this shit out or get the fuck out. And once you get to that point, there's no nice way to say it because you've already tried all the nice ways. But nobody goes back to the time where it was said nice the first time, the first 5 times. They only want to focus on this time, I don't like your delivery. So this time I'm not going to listen to you. Bitch wasn't listening to me the first 5 times I said it before I started talking what she said, demanding and disrespectful and dominating. Well, if you wasn't listening to me when I was originally talking, then who gives a shit? Is they tell me, what are you wanting? Exactly. So, well, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to Like I said, listen and then communicate further. He said, I'm looking for a man that makes enough money to be able to raise a family of four, no debt. I would not even talk to that woman. A woman that would give me that type of, I wouldn't even talk to that woman. With land for the kids, and we work on the same goals, and we are both allowed to chase our own dreams. No, I'm not talking to that girl. Sign here. Nope, I'm burning that contract because see this part right here. She looking for a man that makes enough money to do it all. If you're looking for a man that makes enough money to do it all, we are not working on our chasing our own dreams together. This is a dependent situation. This isn't a codependent situation. This is a dependent situation. You want to be kept financially so that you can focus on your dreams. And then I'm going to have to try to budget my dreams while funding your dreams in a situation where you're not going to follow my instructions. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. These females be left field with this stuff. They be left field with it. All right, let's go ahead and touch base on the next question.
You start worrying about a lack of physical intimacy. We are both in our early 30s. We have been on about 12 dates over the past 3 months. I usually initiate the dates, but she always says yes. She responds to my texts quickly. However, she is a bit reluctant to be physical. The most we have done is kiss for a couple of seconds. I'm not sure if she just likes to go slow or is she just not attracted to me. I plan on talking to her about it, but wanted to see if any other men have been in a similar situation.
Nah, I have not been in a situation where I was on multiple dates with the same person and there was no intimacy. The problem that we have in modern society is that relationships are, and I'm gonna get to your comment in a minute, Michael. But the problem that we have is that modern egalitarian expectations puts the burden on men to initiate everything, fund everything. Women are just supposed to go along for the ride, but be treated as an equal. And that's where I was telling you a moment ago that I don't agree with any type of situation where I am primarily the foundation of resource and we're going to be treated as equals. We're not going to be treated as equals. If I'm the foundation of resource, while you will be respected, we're not equals. Now, in this egalitarian, this fictitious egalitarian lifestyle that we talk about in Western culture, you should not be taking no woman on no 12 dates. You take her on one, maybe two. She needs to initiate these dates. She needs to initiate the third, the fourth, the fifth date. If y'all are going to continue going wherever it is that y'all plan on going, these women need to initiate some of the majority of, even like Stephen was saying, 60-40 of the success of the relationship. I can be the dominant driver of the relationship, but you should be able to reciprocate. So for every 6 dates that I paid for, you should have paid for four. And if we're alternating that, out of the six that I paid for, every other or every third date, you should have paid for a date, which shows that you are as interested in me or reasonably close to interested in me as I am to you. Now, when we come down to the intimacy, you got some women that have been ran through, got more miles on them than a NASCAR, and now they want to prove to themselves that they have self control. They're going to prove it with you because they value you. So instead of them out there acting like OnlyFans and Instagram models, they're going to now reserve their used goods, their damaged goods. They're going to reserve it now for the moment to make it more meaningful to them because it ain't going to mean shit to you. when y'all finally do get intimate. Probably because in their past relationships, the relationship started too fast. They started getting intimate too soon in the relationship. The relationship ended early because they went through all the phases of a marriage within 6 months because they were moving too fast in their previous relationships. So, yeah, you can take 6 months, 12 dates. That's 2 dates a month. You can do that. It takes 6 months before you get intimate. You can do that. You can wait 12 months before you get intimate. The problem is that the man is paying for 12 fucking dates. You go to the Philippines, the women would have been paying for the dates until she commits to the man. So I mean, I'm trying to figure it out. What the fuck? Now, Michael said, you want me to raise the kids, have clothes on their back? No, I do not want females to raise the kids. After you finish breastfeeding, I'm gonna be teaching these kids how to be responsible. So you gonna keep the clothes on their back that I buy, but I'm gonna teach them how to behave. Steven said 12 dates. You still getting to know each other. You're right. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm saying. Well, it depends on how frequent those dates are, Steven. Because if you're doing the one date every other week, plus the communication over the phone, text messages, and all of that, and the other 12 dates is 6 months. In 6 months, y'all should know each other enough to start talking about moving in together. But y'all should not be rushing to move into to each other's households within the first 6 to 12 months. Y'all should be able to hang out in a strictly platonic scenario for 12 to 18 months and really get to know each other to the magnitude where y'all are taking turns, where he should not be initiating 12 dates and she's not initiating 12 other dates, where out of the last 24 dates y'all had, 2 dates a month, where he only paid once a month, that y'all been dating for the last year. That would make sense. But when you start talking about how far into the relationship should intimacy be a thing, traditionally no sex until marriage, and sometimes marriage was 5 years into the dating thing. So I mean, if you're gonna go from traditional standards where no sex until marriage, uh, if you don't plan on marrying her this year, then you're not getting laid this year, not by her. But if you're talking about modern day behavior patterns, if you pay for dinner, you're getting laid. So if you're not getting laid, you're not paying for dinner. Which again puts the burden on women to start reciprocating and say, well, look, let me take you out a couple times, quite a few times, so that we can keep this platonic, so that those men who have sex equals financial compensation kind of behavior patterns, that let me reciprocate and reimburse you for your investment in me for the last time, so that we're still on an even playing field. I said, are we both professionals, being doctors? No, we don't got to both be doctors, Michael. We don't have to both be doctors. I could work at a fast food joint. You could work at a tire shop as the secretary. You could work at a nurse. I could be a doctor. You could be a radiologist. I could be a UPS driver. You could be an Uber driver. I could be a security guard at a stadium. It doesn't matter what our occupations are. What matters is that you contribute to the relationship in areas where I don't have the time, or in some situations, the skill set to function in a relationship. If she's not willing to perform, whatever excuse she gives, she's out the door. The excuse is why she's out the door, because she's unwilling to perform her feminine role. She's willing to perform the masculine role, but she's not willing to perform the feminine role. And if she's not willing to perform the feminine role, she's out the door. He said, the best things in life do demand work. I'm going to let y'all marinate on that. Michael said, the best things in life do demand work. Now, I'm going to take you back to about 25, 30 minutes ago when Michael was telling me that I was being too demanding. I'm one of the best things in life, and I demand work. Remember to like and subscribe. He said, cool, stay at home dad. Better have food on the table, house clean, more than happy to pull an extra shift at the hospital. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. You got some females right now that just be slacking, bro. They'll be swearing up and down that because she's got a job, that she's putting in more work at her job than I'm putting in at my job. You got some people who believe that because they leave the house to go to work, that they're doing more work than the person that works from home. And I'm going to be honest with you, that mentality is still devaluing your partner. Doesn't matter where you do what you do to make the work. What matters is, and also in a lot of situations, it doesn't matter how much money you make. What matters is how much you contribute into the household. So if I'm making 75,000 a year, you're making 50,000 a year, and you're putting up 25,000, and I'm putting up 25,000, and we're living a $50,000 lifestyle, we're doing a 50-50, right? But if I'm taking the other 25,000 and buying you nice things and taking you all kinds of places and making you feel good about yourself, and you're pocketing your other 25,000 where you take care of yourself, but I take care of you, it's not 50-50, it's 70-30. And in that dynamic, it's not balanced. It's not equal, right? It's not egalitarian, right? So um it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter what each one of us does. If I've got more time at the house than you do, and there's kids, then I can be at the house with the kids. What say I've got kids, I've got business meetings, I can't do the business meetings and the kids at the same time, but you got to go to work. Well, let me hire a babysitter to watch the kids while I'm working. Then when I get off from work, the babysitter can go home. I'm not only need the babysitter for 3 or 4 hours when I really need to focus. Where the babysitter's not hanging out with me at the house with the kids, the babysitter's taking the kids to the park so that the house is quiet, so that when the babysitter comes back, then they can make as much noise as they want. In that dynamic, yeah. But overall, you've got to understand that there's got to be a he said make sure that the kids is fed. There's got to be a reasonable balance. And in modern 2026, there aren't reasonable balances. There's usually an imbalance. And usually when men articulate that they're dissatisfied with the imbalance, society shuns men for talking about that imbalance. That's typically what happens. And then men are conditioned to not talk about that imbalance. And then the men just build resentment because they're in an imbalanced relationship. And anybody who's in a situation where they're not being treated as good as everybody else in the room, they're going to harbor resentment for everybody else in the room. But in a relationship, you're supposed to articulate your discontent so that it doesn't become a resentment. Steven says, if the relationship is a healthy one, who makes what is ultimately irrelevant. Exactly. For me, I want to find a good one and keep her home with the kids while I work. Right. But for me, I work from home, so I wouldn't mind if she left the house to go to work. You know, I don't expect her to stay home with me 24/7. But for me, if I make enough money for the both of us and she doesn't have to work, we're both at the house 24/7. Unless she decides to leave the house and go do something other than sit here and stare at me all day. So, in that dynamic, right? When I'm not working, since we're both at the house, that's when I would prioritize trying to go and help her do some other things around the house. In that dynamic, since she understands that I work from home, if we've got kids at the house that aren't in school during the time that I work, then she would prioritize taking the kids out of the house so that they're not making noise in the background, disturbing me from my work. Still mutual respect. I completely agree with you, Stephen. It's a situation where it doesn't the quantity of capital that you put into the relationship is not a definitive factor in who has the most authority in a relationship, but it definitely plays a huge impact on it. Because if you're paying more for this ride than I'm paying, I should not be telling you which direction we're going. I mean that's fair to say, right? If I bought the plane, you shouldn't be telling me how to fly it, unless you're a pilot, right? And that's kind of what people don't understand is that while there can be some feminine leaders, those feminine leaders still have a feminine role that puts them in a subordinate position to the husband that they choose, specifically because the women want the man to make the leading decision. Not just because men do it better, because women want men to lead. They want men to protect. They want men to provide. And for a man to lead, and protect before we even get to the provision part. Protect requires strategy. Strategy requires execution of the strategy. And executing the strategy requires delegation, calling plays, just like a quarterback, just like a football coach, so that the other parties on the team know what we're doing, when we're doing it, why we're doing it. In some situations, I can't tell you why because it's an emergency, but I can tell you why after the fact. So when I tell you, hey, we got to go, we got to go. Not, oh, why are you leaving now? We just got here. By the time I finish explaining to you why we're leaving, we both got shot. But had I said it's time to go, when you would have got your ass up, got your stuff, and we just left. And then while we're leaving, 2 miles down the road, why'd you make us leave? That made sense. That made sense because we're talking about it after the fact, right? But if I say let's go and you're going to challenge that, then we've got a problem. If I say stay here while I go check that out and you no, I want to come with you, you're going to put yourself in danger, which distracts me from protecting you from danger. Now I got to be the shield to the onslaught that's happening to you because you put yourself in danger, which sacrifices me because I can't offense and defense at the same time. You don't use your sword and your shield at the same time. You use your sword, then you use your shield, or you use your shield, then you use your sword. He said you better switch tanks. Nope, don't need to. We'll switch wives. That's what we'll do. All right, let's go ahead and check the base with the next one.
People who left a good marriage in your 30s. How did you know it was time? How did you know whether your marriage was fundamentally over versus whether another relationship was making you see your marriage differently? As a 35-year-old woman, married for 8 years, together for 14, no children. My husband and I moved countries together a few years ago, built a stable life, owned property together, adopted a dog, and did 6 months of couples therapy. There is no abuse and no obvious major conflict. We are genuinely very good friends. We work well as a team and share similar long-term values around life and building a future. We also used to be very in love and had years where I felt excited and emotionally connected in the relationship, which is part of why I struggle to tell whether this is a phase, burnout, or whether something more fundamental changed. But for a long time, I felt emotionally and romantically disconnected. We've had a dead bedroom for about 2 years, initiated by me. And at this point, I struggle to imagine that part returning. I no longer really feel admiration or aliveness in the relationship. I care deeply about him and love him in many ways. But increasingly, it feels like we became companions and co-builders rather than lovers. I don't look forward to our vacations together anymore. There are also moments when I don't feel emotionally safe around him, not because he is abusive or bad for me, but because in difficult moments I sometimes don't trust him to support me and advocate for me in the way I emotionally need. We tried couples therapy and eventually stopped because it felt like we were circling the same discussions without getting to something deeper. I also did individual therapy, but didn't feel like it was helping me really. I also developed feelings for someone else. I'm not asking whether I should choose that person. I know that relationship may or may not last. But it forced me to confront feelings I had already started having about my marriage. Leaving feels horribly difficult. The last few years included several family losses and job insecurity, and I feel like I'm only now rebuilding myself after a difficult period. I am terrified of losing stability and support, especially because we live in a new country and don't have a big support system here. I also care about him deeply, and hurting him feels like cutting my own hand off. Part of what makes this difficult is that my father left my mother for someone else when I was young, and I promised myself I would never do that to another person. For people who have been through something similar, how did you tell the difference between a marriage that had truly run its course and one that could still be rebuilt?
Okay, let's start with Steven's comment. He says, she has a good man that takes her on vacations, so she keeps the bed empty. So motherfuckers can be pleased. Sound like she one of them. Bro, do you see like what me and Michael was talking about earlier? This is why we talk. I talk the way I talk. This is why I'm not forgiving about my situation. This is why I don't sugarcoat shit. At the end of the day, no matter how good a man is, if the woman wants more and she doesn't get it, she's going to turn off intimacy. That's what women have done historically, is turn off intimacy. Now, even though the man suffers with the intimacy, he has self preservation turned off the desire for intimacy from his wife and is still giving her everything that she wants except for a psychological and emotional cheerleader for the negative bullshit that he doesn't agree with. Now, she wants him to validate the negative things that she's doing, and he's not involving himself either way. She's not happy with that. But the truth came out 3/4 of the way in. She's got a boyfriend on the side that her husband may not know about. And while she's got a boyfriend on the side that her husband may not know about, you can psychologically and emotionally have love for more than one person, but you can only be in love with one person at a time. So when you fell out of love with your husband, you fell in love with the side dude, you still have love for your husband, but you don't feel the way with your husband that you feel about the side dude. You might have closed the intimacy gates with the husband, but you're smashing the side dude. Now, this happens in a lot of marriages. I mean, they've been around each other for 14 years, even though they've been married for a portion, a small portion of that. Long-term marriages typically has this happens at some point during a marriage where one or both people do this, not necessarily at the same time, right? The dynamic is that whatever it is that she was hoping to get out of this relationship, she did not articulate that clearly to her husband. She admits that she did not continue therapy because she wasn't satisfied with the outcome, where she wanted the therapist to convince the husband to do what she wanted, and the therapist wouldn't do that. So the man's not doing anything wrong in this situation. It's just that the woman's expectations supersedes the performance of her marriage. And since she's not satisfied with that, she is getting intimacy from outside of the marriage, which doesn't necessarily validate her, but the novelty of something different, something new, is what she's got right now. Now, there isn't much resentment towards her current husband, but there is some resentment there because what she thought that she could get out of this situation, she's not getting. And that's the reason why she's getting it from somebody else. If the dude sleeping with her is giving her the validation that she looked for, even though she could be dead wrong, just because he's a yes man in the situation, he gets to sleep with her. And at the end of the day, that is all she wanted, was for somebody to agree with her being wrong. Sometimes that's how people are. But as men, we have to stand on our non-negotiable expectations for behavior. This man is, like you said, he's taking her on trips. They got a good life together. They done bought a bunch of property together. They got a stable foundation around themselves. No kids because she doesn't want the kids. So everything that she wanted out of this marriage, he gave her, and she still will not satisfy this man. But he's still giving her everything that she needs. I gotta tell y'all, some of these motherfuckers, there's nothing you can do to please them. There's nothing. He's taking pictures of himself and she doesn't like it. That's not it, bro. That ain't even it. What's really going on right now is that she is not getting what she wants, and what she want is unreasonable. And since she can't find nobody to cheerlead the bullshit that she's trying to deliver, she's taking it out on her husband, and now she's cheating on her husband with another man. Now she's asking, when is a good time to end a good marriage? There's never a good time to end a good marriage. The marriage is fucking good. She's fucking it up, and she's going to be the reason why they get a divorce. He will be the man that got away, the good one that got away. But when she finished fucking this man over, he is going to be a man scorned. The next woman that he gets with, he is not going to be the man that he is now. And that's when women say all men ain't shit. Oh, he's traumatized from the last woman. Something happened with his mama. A bad woman got with a good man and lingered with that good man like a parasite until she destroyed that good man. And now that man is damaged goods for the next woman. And when the next woman comes, she don't get the good man that once was there. At the end of the day, I'm going to say the marriage is good for her, but she's not happy with it. The marriage is not good for him. And since she is not willing to make him happy in the marriage, she should voluntarily withdraw from the marriage because she will psychologically and emotionally damage him by lingering in the marriage with the intent to not satisfy her husband. And they're still going to end up getting a divorce. So once you decided to start dating outside of the marriage, you should have started deciding to get the divorce. That's pretty much it. She should have opened up to the husband or left him. But she should have left him because she already opened up to the husband. They had couples therapy and individual therapy. She stopped going to the couples therapy because they were circling around the same subjects, which was her not being willing to cooperate, her not being willing to be intimate, her not having an excuse for this behavior, but she's still not satisfied. Then she went to individual therapy where she stopped going to that because she could not get the therapist to be on her side about the fact that she has unrealistic expectations that are not going to get met in this particular relationship. So, since she understands that two therapists and a husband later, she's not getting what she looks for out of this marriage, she should have left. He says, since she stepped out of the, she stepped out, that woman is trash. I would leave her quickly and move on if I were him. But see, that's the thing. I don't think he knows that she cheated on him. I think that he knows that his relationship is on the rocks. And she's admitting to us that her relationship is on the rocks and she's cheating on him. But you got to understand, the shoe was on the other foot, and the man was this way, where there was no intimacy in a relationship, and he had a woman on the side. Society would say the same thing. The person cheating ain't shit, and the person cheating need to go ahead and voluntarily walk out of the relationship instead of cheating. But I am gonna say that there is something that you're not doing in the relationship that causes your partner to leave the relationship. So the husband should have figured out if whatever the fuck she wanted was doable and if it was reasonable. And if it wasn't doable or wasn't reasonable, he should have got the divorce before she cheated. Because in either situation, if I can't give you what you need, or if I can't give you what you want, if I can't give you what you're asking for, you will never be happy with me. And at that point, I am supposed to be the bigger person if you're not going to do it. And I should withdraw from this situation because I am not what you want or I am not what you need. And if once I recognize that, there isn't enough trips around the world that's going to fix that situation. There isn't enough jewelry. There isn't enough gifts. There isn't enough red bottom shoes. There isn't enough Brazilian hair from Amsterdam that's going to make you change your position. You will stay for the stuff. And that's what this woman is doing. She doesn't want to leave the lifestyle that she has, but she doesn't want the man that she's with. At the end of the day, it's time to go. But if you're not going to leave, I'm going to leave. That's what we got to do. All right, let's touch base with the next one.
I'm really struggling with a relationship decision and need outside perspectives as a 23-year-old female. I dated a guy for 4 years. We met in high school, grew up together, lived together, and overall had a really great relationship. During that relationship, I started partying and drinking, and I ended up cheating on him with a girl I met. We broke up because of it. At the time, I thought I wanted freedom and to finally live, because I had basically been in long relationships back to back my whole life. But honestly, I realized pretty quickly that partying and that lifestyle weren't actually fulfilling to me. I stayed with the girl I cheated with, and we've now been together almost 4 years, but our relationship has been rocky from the start. We argue a lot, clash personality-wise, and we also work together, which adds a lot of stress. We also don't really agree on a lot of long-term goals or values, and sometimes I feel emotionally alone because of how differently we think and live. At the same time, I care about her deeply and we have built a bond. I can't imagine hurting her. I would genuinely miss her if I walked away. I want to clarify too that I'm technically not fully with either of them right now. My ex knows the entire situation and knows I've been going back and forth trying to figure out what I want. My current partner thinks we're more on a break right now. The complicated part is that my ex recently came back into my life and told me he'd be willing to try again with me. For years I thought that's what I wanted more than anything because I carried so much guilt over hurting him and always felt like I made the biggest mistake of my life. When we reconnected about a month ago, he was actually in a relationship and the girl was pregnant. He told me he was never fully invested and always thought about me. The girl ended up getting an abortion, and he pretty much left that relationship immediately after we started talking again. So now I feel pressure. With him, things feel easy, we think very similarly, want the same things out of life, and he's incredibly supportive of me. I know I could build a stable future, marriage, kids with him. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm romanticizing the past because of nostalgia and guilt. And I also can't ignore that family/societal pressure about being with a woman long-term probably affects my thinking too. Something else important is that change has always been extremely hard for me, even since childhood. Nostalgia controls a huge part of my life. I have a pattern where I'll think something is wrong for me or making me unhappy, but the second I lose it, suddenly my brain turns it into the greatest thing I ever had. Because of that, I honestly don't fully trust myself or my emotions. I'm scared that if I leave my current relationship, I'll romanticize it afterward and regret everything. But I'm also scared that if I stay, I'll always wonder about my ex and whether I missed the person I was actually most compatible with. I think deep down part of me worries that even if I got exactly what I wanted tomorrow, I still somehow wouldn't feel happy. Another layer to all of this is that I've worked in strip clubs for the last 4 years, and I'm nervous to be with a man again. And I know people are probably going to tell me I need to be alone, but that feels really hard for me. My job is mentally exhausting, I own businesses, I help take care of my family, and I carry a lot of pressure in my day-to-day life. I need emotional support and stability in my life. What scares me most is that I can't imagine never trying again with him in my lifetime. But I also can't imagine hurting the person I'm with now.
All right. So Steven says she needs to take a good year alone to get to know herself, if you ask me. Now, the first thing I was gonna say was let's start with recognizing that, she's dating this chick and she's getting the same behavior from this chick that her boyfriend got from her. Um Women don't believe this, but truth be told is that when two women date each other, well, there's nothing morally or ethically wrong with that. When two women date each other and they have the exact same conflict in a relationship that they have when a man is dating a woman, that one woman that has dated men and dated women need to stop and think the common problem in your relationship was you, because you didn't get along with the man that you were dating and you're not getting along with the woman that you're dating. There's something wrong with you. Because if it was just the men, then when you start dating a woman, you'd have no problems. All right. So when you stop dating men and start dating women and you're still having the same problems, it's you. Some of the negative feelings and emotions and behavior patterns you're getting from your partner is retaliation to your negative behavior. Some of it is just y'all aren't compatible with one another, but a lot of it is going to be resentment and retaliation behavior. However, just because the dude wants to get with you doesn't mean y'all are compatible. Just because y'all have the same thought process doesn't mean that y'all are compatible. I understand that his other relationship, he had a rebound chick after you, got her pregnant. She had an abortion. Dude left. Most men who would prefer to be fathers would leave once the woman gets an abortion. So, I mean, she kind of killed that relationship as soon as she got the abortion. That just kind of, he ain't even gonna want to have nothing else to do with her, really. Especially if it wasn't his choice. Now, the woman that he wanted, he would assume that she has learned from past behavior because she has already started dating a woman and it's not working the way it wasn't working when she was dating a man. But I strongly believe, like Steven said, because she ain't getting the shit together, she needs to spend some time by herself and figure out how to improve herself. Now, another thing I also believe and I understand is that she hit the nail on the head and she's got some self doubt. First and foremost, she understands that even if she got what she wanted, she would find a way to fuck it up and she would feel like she's not satisfied with it. That is self sabotaging behavior. That is going to come from a level of trauma and probably some depression from past where you believe that you do not deserve to be happy. So you will make sure that you're in a situation where you are not happy, whether you cause unnecessary conflict in a relationship or you deliberately put yourself in a situation with somebody that you are not happy with so that you can feel comfortable in the chaos that you are used to. This requires a lot of therapy, but to the magnitude and dynamics of, is this what you need? No. She needs some therapy. She needs to get away from the toxic relationship. She needs to recognize that your ex is your ex. Now, here's the other half of that because it's not just the fact that she didn't learn and grow. He didn't learn and grow neither because he left her, dated a chick, left that chick for his ex. He has not improved from the first breakup. He did not improve from the abortion breakup. And now he's about to get with the unimproved, unreformed version of the ex who has not learned from past mistakes. Just because you got into another relationship after your breakup does not mean that you have grown emotionally. You have not matured. You have not grown psychologically. So the reasons why y'all broke up before are still there. Y'all just missed the sex y'all used to have with one another. Now, once y'all get back together, the sex will be good and this, that, and the third. But the problem you're going to have is the same issues that led to the breakup are going to be the same issues that leads to the breakup a second time. Now, with these two, the issue was the partying and bar hopping and making out with other people and cheating. So, if she does not drink and she does not club and she finds a way to be a responsible, stable person in a relationship and stay loyal to her boyfriend, that could become a good thing since she recognizes the error of her ways. But if he decides to go to a party with the guys, he goes to a party with the girls, she is not going to change her behavior. People who quit drinking alcohol for a number of years only need one situation to fall off the wagon. And when they fall off the wagon, they fall off hard. It's one of those situations where I ain't drinking a while, took this one shot, fuck, as well drink the whole bar. They fall off the wagon hard. So if the chick decides to be alcohol free for the first 2 to 5 years out of the relationship after she gets back with her ex, then he does something to piss her off. She leaves the house and goes to the bar to have a drink. She starts with a shot. Somebody buys her another shot. Now she's got three people buying her shots. Now she's doing keg stands on the bar. And because she could swing both ways, it doesn't matter if it's a dude or a chick. Once she starts getting inebriated, Western society is not to bring her home and leave her with her husband. It is to bring her somewhere else and get laid. So the affair is going to happen again because she has not learned. Now, while I don't condone that behavior, because after everything we've learned about how men can get castrated by the wrong accusation, I don't think that her getting inebriated and then you trying to make a play for it is a good thing these days. But I can say that since that was her pattern of behavior in the past, she would literally have to not just vow to be alcohol free, but refuse to go anywhere where alcohol is served or sold to prevent from being exposed to the temptation. That would be the only way that she would satisfy her capabilities to not girls gone wild. Because otherwise, she's gonna slip, especially if her husband or her boyfriend's not there to say no, she doesn't need that, right? She's gonna slip. And if she's in a group of people with peer pressure, come on, you can take one shot. It's just one shot. One shot turn into 10 shots, 10 shots turn into a night that you don't remember, which turns into a night you don't want to remember, right? It is what it is. I always advise learn from your past mistakes, but never get back with your ex. Never get back with. I don't care if it's 20 years from now. Never get back with your ex. That's always going to be my advice. All right, let's touch base with the next one. We got a couple more here.
I don't know whether I want closure or revenge. I honestly
Revenge.
don't even know if I want advice or if I just need to get this out somewhere, maybe both. I dated a younger guy from my school. We had history before dating and he genuinely cared about me a lot. He was nervous around me, affectionate, emotionally attached, and honestly very sweet in private. That's part of why this whole situation hurts so much. During the relationship I trusted him with personal things, supported him emotionally, listened to his problems, and genuinely believed he respected me. We eventually broke up 2 weeks ago because I started feeling emotionally alone and unsupported toward the end of the relationship. I felt like I was carrying everything emotionally by myself while he slowly stopped putting effort into the relationship. After the breakup, I started hearing rumors that he had apparently been telling people at school private things about our relationship and bragging about it to other boys. He was telling these things while we were still together. When I confronted him about it, he completely denied everything and told me he would never be stupid enough to say things like that, and even blamed another person for spreading rumors. I believed him because I didn't expect him to lie to me about something so personal. But now multiple unrelated people have confirmed basically the same story, including things that would have only come from him. And honestly, I feel disgusted. Not even because people know things. It's more the fact that someone I trusted turned something private and vulnerable into validation from other boys. Apparently he was trying to act more experienced or grown up in front of them, and that genuinely changed the way I see him. The thing is, I don't want him back anymore. I lost trust and a lot of respect too. But I also can't let this go easily. Part of me really wants to confront him face to face and tell him that I know he lied to me, that he broke my trust, and that I genuinely cannot understand how someone who supposedly cared about me could disrespect me like this, and maybe even that I didn't like the experience. I actually didn't. Just when we were together I didn't want to hurt him by saying so. I don't even care what his response would be. I don't want to fix the relationship. I think I just want him to fully realize what he did and how badly it affected the way I see him now. Because for him it was a moment of validation, while for me my reputation is kinda ruined and I feel so hurt. At the same time, another part of me wonders if confronting him would just create more drama and give him emotional power over me again. I would really appreciate any advice or outside perspective right now because I have no idea what the right thing to do. Should I even confront him at all, or should I just let it go and move on quietly? If I do talk to him, would it actually matter hearing his response? And if I should confront him, what's the best way to do it, face to face, over the phone, or not at all? What would you even say to someone who lied to your face and broke your trust like this? Upvote 17, downvote 20.
All right, so let's take a look at this because you got a lot of stuff you going into. Um, so you broke up with him first, and that's gonna be the biggest issue that I have with this. You broke up with him first. And you claim that you broke up with him because you did not have the emotional validation that you needed in a relationship. Outside of him talking to his homies about whether or not y'all had sex or not, because that's what boys do. While that may not be appropriate, that's what boys do. Um, and that might be the only thing that personal, private, intimate thing that the guy could talk about that would make sense for you to feel betrayed by, and how your reputation would be impacted by that. However, um, some guys actually talk to their friends about what's going on in their relationship when they don't understand why the relationship isn't going right. And in those situations, they will have to talk about personal matters in their relationship with what they would have thought would have been their trusted friends so that they could get the advice that they need so that they can make their relationship work. Guys put more effort into making their relationships work even when the relationship has already failed long before the relationship is over than what women do. Women typically only communicate with their network to get validation on walking out of a relationship. Usually, the women get validation on making bad choices. They do not get validation on making good choices. Guys look for alternatives. If they don't have a solution, they try to find solutions from other guys. They don't choose the right guys all the time, because if you remember Martin from back in the day, he used to get advice from Tommy and Cole, and Tommy and Cole used to always give him the wrong advice. And then he would just have to stop listening to his friends and go talk to Gina and get the information from Gina so that they could work on their relationship. But the observation is that if he was getting advice from his friends because the relationship wasn't going right, there is going to be something that he's going to talk about. Now, if she's making it seem like he's bragging to his friends, and boys do that, he may not have been. He may have just been trying to get some advice. Now, even if he was bragging to his friends, that's not why you broke up with him. Had y'all been dating and you found this information out and you wanted to confront him to make him stop, like that might, if you're confronting him, could lead him to deciding to stop this behavior and apologize to you and do better about confidentiality between the two of y'all. Then if he doesn't perform well with agreeing to work this out with you, then probably going to break up with him. You broke up with him and then found out that some information about your relationship may have been leaked by him. I'm going to be honest with you. While this bothers you, it doesn't matter. If you got fired off of a job and your boss told all of your coworkers that you were a shitty employee, are you supposed to go back to the job and confront your boss about your former reputation with your boss? No. If your boyfriend is giving bad reviews about you, if that's what you're claiming, your boyfriend's giving you bad reviews about you to society before y'all broke up, and then y'all broke up, unrelated to the bad reviews, then you find out about the bad reviews after y'all broke up. It is not going to fix your reputation to confront him. Him apologizing for those bad reviews is not going to change how you feel about the bad reviews. Him apologizing to you about providing those bad reviews is not going to improve your reputation. So right now, what we have is revenge, and this is a common behavior that women have. This is a common behavior that people with a lot of emotion have. Is that when you have been wronged by somebody, you want an area of justice where you have to do something to make them suffer so that you can feel validated that they now hurt as much as you used to hurt, that they have now paid the way you've paid, not in a similar fashion. Because a lot of times in modern times, the way that is resolved is like through lawsuits. Fucked me over and I sue you, right? So the emotional damage that I got is replicated by your financial reparations, right? Sometimes it is reputational damage. You damage my reputation, so I'm going to make you damage your reputation. Since you damaged my reputation, now both of our reputations are damaged. But does that make the situation right? No. The past is the past. What he said before y'all broke up, that ain't got nothing to do with you right now. Y'all broke up. Had y'all still been together, that might have been a reason to break up. There is no closure in why did he say what he said. If he said something negative about you, what you need to do is take that shit as a reference point, as a character review, and fix the complaint. Whatever you weren't doing that you should have been doing, start doing it for the next relationship. Whatever you were doing that you should not have been doing, stop doing it for the next relationship. But don't go confront the complainer for having a complaint. Steven says that boss can keep talking trash and just don't run into me in public. Well, look, I'm gonna be real with you. I didn't have some bosses that have not had positive things to say, and I respect that. And some people feel like you shouldn't. Look, they got people. I don't have positive things to say about everybody that I come across, but at the same time, though, I'm not going to tell everybody in the world that this person is a garbage person to be around. I got exes that I didn't had negative experiences with. Part of the reasons why they're exes. I won't even name their names. They are like Voldemort, she who shall not be named kind of situations where that went south. And I'm going to learn from it, but I'm not going to talk about it. Now, if somebody I know bring that name to me, show me a photo and confirm that that is the same person that I had a negative experience with as a reference point, I'll let them know, bro, I got bad reviews about this product. But will I hunt that person down and tell that person's network how bad of a person that person is? No, I don't give a fuck about that person. We're no longer interacting in each other's worlds. So if she had bad things to say about me, I'm not gonna lose sleep at night over that. If she had bad things to say about me, it's not gonna stop me from making money, make money for me. And if we cross paths in society, I don't know how that would be possible, but if we did, I would pretend like I didn't know her. Matter of fact, to the magnitude that it was one so long ago, and two, I disassociate with people to a degree where I might not even recognize her, genuinely not know who the fuck she is. But if I found myself in a conversation where I've made the mistake of not doing facial recognition and I heard that voice and I recognized that voice and, oh, you're so and so, out the door, I'm gone. That's it. I'm not going to, oh, what you said about me and this, that, and the third, and what you did over here and this, that, and the third. No. Now, when she asked it at the beginning of her question was, would this produce an emotional control that he would have over her? First and foremost, he don't want to control, but yes, it would put him in control over your emotions. This is one thing that people try to throw under narcissism and toxic behavior, but it is self-toxic behavior, not so much somebody else imposing toxic behavior on you. You got to understand this. When somebody else's thought process or behavior process negatively impacts you, that person holds control over how you feel, because when they say and do things, it changes your behavior. So that puts external control over your internal emotions. Whether or not that person knows that they got control over you or not has nothing to do with the fact that they do. Some people will say and do things just because they say and do things, and you gonna feel some kind of way about it because you allow external sources to control how you feel. So is it a good thing to reconnect with your ex where your ex would likely trigger negative emotions again in you? No, specifically because you harbor negative feelings, and specifically because those negative feelings are going to be resurfaced by your boyfriend, your ex boyfriend. You should not interact with your boyfriend. Why? Because it is going to put you in a position where you're not going to be able to maintain control over your feelings, right? That's the part that you need to recognize. One of the reasons why we do no contact, and one of the reasons why we do um um distancing from our exes is because the negative hold that we have, we still have to break that emotional bond with our partner. And when we still have to break that bond, we find ourselves in a position where any contact with that person will bring up bad feelings, old feelings. And since we understand that, we distance ourselves. So recognizing that dude still got some kind of impact on you, distance yourself. Don't interact with him at all. If y'all go to the same school, avoid each other. If y'all work on the same job, avoid each other. Don't interact with you. Y'all got the same social circle. Detach yourself from that circle. Don't hang out with people that will talk to you about your ex. That's what you got to do, because it's not going to work out for you. All right, I think we got like one more. Let's go ahead and cover that.
22 go to comments.
Someone please talk to me. Me
All
and
right.
my boyfriend just broke up. I am 21 and haven't been in a lot of relationships. I feel so empty and hopeless. I feel like I did something wrong and that I'm unworthy. I love him so incredibly much I can't even explain the feeling. I'm so far away from my family and I don't have any friends outside of work where I live. I just want someone to want me the way I want them. I don't know how to handle these feelings. Someone help me please. I feel so sad.
Okay. Well, that one was
Need
easier than I thought.
relationship advice.
Hold on. Before we go into that one. So apparently we got a couple. So the first issue that we have is that she hasn't been in a lot of relationships, which thank God, because at 21 you should have only had like one or two, right? Every 1 year, 5 months, and 6 days, you should have two between 18 and 21, right? Anything more than that, you kind of doing too much. But yes, you did something wrong. No, you're not worthless. Yes, you can improve, but no, you should not be in another relationship with somebody else right now. You should give yourself another 6 months to a year, like Steven said with the other chick, to figure out where you went wrong, what contributions you made in the failure of that relationship, and then change. You can also do a census where you only interact with guys as strictly platonic relationships to find out what men look for in women. Do your own poll and generically take that information in and decide which characteristics that men look for in women and see if you can start behaving like that and performing those roles so that when you do decide to open yourself up to a serious relationship that you are able to perform the roles that the average man is looking for, right? Being 21, you're at a good age where you've got at least 7 years left before your value completely plummets. So let's put you in a position where you learn and grow from this situation, where hopefully within the next 5 years you find the right guy, but it requires you to learn from the last guy and not allow the next guy to be negatively impacted by your relationship from the last guy. Because that's one of the other things that causes problems in relationships is that you find yourself with baggage and trauma from the last relationship that puts you in a position where your next relationship suffers. Your past impacts your future. You want to detach the two. You want to overcome the past first before you move into the future. Now, last one. I'm coming, buddy. Let's see the last one. Come this way while we listen to that guy.
I am currently 24 and I think I was in love with someone. It started off as a situationship, but both of us got attached. We were living together like a couple. She had this ex with whom she had an unresolved past, and I knew it. I thought she'd change. Then this ex came to see her. I told her I'm not okay with this. She anyways saw him. He stayed at her place for 3 days and they slept together. She now says it was a mistake. She says that she loves me so much and would do anything for me. I don't know what to do. I know I still love her, but the pain and trauma are too much. Should I get back with her?
Hell no. She made her choice. Here's the issue. You as a man was dating this girl and she's got an ex-boyfriend that she still got feelings for. First and foremost, your first mistake was you probably started dating this girl immediately after she broke up with her boyfriend, and there's a lot of the times where she left her boyfriend for you, right? So you the rebound. Now the problem, Steven says, you already know what I'll say to her. She can kick rocks. Uh, like the Isley brothers, get your shit. But I'm sitting over here. I'm sitting over here saying like, okay, so y'all dating. She started talking to her boyfriend, her ex boyfriend, after you told her not to. They spent 3 days shagging. She come back and talk to you about it. Oh, I regret it. I'll do anything. No, she'll do anything that she want to do because if you're going to take her back, then that means that she has every opportunity to cheat on you again because she was willing to smash this dude, which destroys your relationship, right? And sex with your ex's closure is what some people think is the thing to do. That's not what the thing to do. That actually rekindles emotions, right? So the fact is that where you are right now, you just she just destroyed the whole relationship. There's no reason to go back to her, right? And if she's willing to do that now, a year, 2 years, 3 years into the relationship, what will she do in 5 or 10 years when she's bored with the relationship? If she's not willing to overcome temptation now, because she's going to lie and say, oh, well, it was a mistake. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. A mistake is going to a place and drinking a drink that you didn't make yourself and then waking up 3 days later and not knowing what happened. That's a mistake. Okay. Because you had no intention of doing anything wrong and wrong things happened while you weren't awake. That's a mistake because you went somewhere you should not have went and you had no control over the outcome of the situation because you weren't conscious. That's a mistake. When you go and consciously pick your ex-boyfriend up from the airport, bring him to your house instead of him staying in a fucking hotel, let him spend 3 nights in a row at your house like the Holiday Inn. That is a fuck fest. That is not a mistake. That is deliberate. You're gonna lie and call it a mistake. Ooh, because you got caught or because you feel guilty. But let's be real with you. At the end of the day, you wanted that. You allowed it to happen. You participated in it. And now you regret the outcome because the outcome is that the man that you said you were committed to, which you lied about that, now doesn't want you. So now you're going to try to make it up to him. I don't understand the way women believe that if a man sleeps with another woman, that he has so little value that there is absolutely no way that she can allow him to even touch her again, right? But when a woman does the exact same thing, you can forgive me, it'll be fine. I'll make it up to you. How? How? You would be repulsed if I slept with another woman. You wouldn't want me to touch you again if I slept with another woman. You would be imagining all the things that I did and how I performed with her, and that would repulse you even more. Now, if that is what's going through your mind, if I sleep with you, what do you think is going through the man's mind? Right? Because body counts don't matter to women, body counts matter to men. So if you're holding a body count to hostage on a man, it is 100 times worse when a woman does it, right? So the dynamic here is going to be that relationship is dead. That relationship is long dead. I don't even understand why he even trying to. But see, men are going to need more closure than women because women need validation. Men need closure because at the end of the day, dude is talking about how it's over. Should I get it back because he still love her? And I understand you love her, but that's not a healthy relationship to be in. The money you're going to spend on that is going to be extensive. It's going to be extensive because you're going to have to pay for extra bullshit. She's going to pay for extra bullshit. Y'all going to have GPS trackers on your phones. Y'all going to be going through each other's passwords, looking through each other's histories to make sure that infidelity is not continuing in the relationship. Y'all relationship is off to a bad start. So you save yourself some time, some money, some effort. Let that one go. And then do not date a girl that has an ex within the last 365 days. You broke up with somebody 3 months ago? All right. I can be your homie, but I'm not going to. That's it. That's it. And I know that men typically don't make friends with women that they're not willing to sleep with. But when she is no longer a candidate for a relationship, um, she really has no other value there. She really doesn't have any value there. He says body count as long as STDs are not present and as long as a woman can be exclusive and leave the past in the past is not a deal breaker. You say that, Stephen, but a retired OnlyFans girl or a retired porn star is not going to be your top pick. You might not say no to sleeping with the girl if she shows you an STD report that says that she hasn't had an STD recently, but it's not like a Carfax situation. She's not going to give you her whole last 25 or 30 years worth of STD tests to show you that she's never had an STD in her life. She just doesn't have an STD now. Now, she tells you the truth and reminds you of that one time at 18 that she got an STD, which would have been 20 years ago if she's 38 right now. You're not going to say, oh, well, I don't want to date a girl that's ever had an STD in their life because that's going to be highly improbable. Anybody that's sexually active has had near misses, if not direct contact with STDs throughout their sex life, especially if you're doing unprotected sex. So The fact that she currently doesn't have an STD is going to be one of the major points. But and then the fact is that whatever her body count is, which is one of the reasons why we're not supposed to be talking about our romantic past to that magnitude, whatever her body count is going to dictate her experience in the bedroom. And you so you can just know that if she's really good at it, that she's had a lot of practice with it. So she know her body count's pretty high. You're not going to think about the number of men that she slept with. You're not going to think about the number of tips that you're kissing when you kiss her lips because she's not going to tell you what her body count is. But at the end of the day, body count is a deal breaker for all men. It is. Any man that is committing to a long term relationship is not committing to a crash car as a wife. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. Um, it is what it is. Now, I understandably, because the average female in America typically has triple digits for their partners. If you find a woman that's still in the double digits, even if those double digits are mid double digits, you might allow that. You might even rationalize like 2 to 5 partners a year um, on average. And if you're doing 2 to 5 partners a year on average every 10 years, that's like 50 partners. So in 20 years, that's triple digits. So if she's in her 30s, you expect her to have at least 100. And if she has less than that, you're like, well, it ain't as bad as it could be, right? Because of the market that you're dating in, right? Because 5 a year is a lot, but technically 5 a year is not a lot for a man, right? Since a woman can only have one child a year, 5 different partners in a year, that's a lot, right? Now I was just looking at some studies, and while it is rare, there is a scenario where multiple sperms can penetrate an egg, and while sometimes those eggs split off into twins, there are times where those eggs do not survive uh, the impregnation phase. Now, imagine that one of the reasons why, because when women take sperm in, whether it's accidental or deliberate, uh, it doesn't go anywhere. That DNA kind of like lingers inside of them. Women are incubators. Now, one of the reasons why she might not be able to fulfill her childbearing expectations is probably because there's too much semen in there, too many different probabilities in there, which leads to a lot of miscarriages, right? Women don't think about that part. They're going to tell me, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. Look, the less partners she has, here's another thing, because the DNA stays in her, and since the DNA stays in her, she actually changes with the DNA that she takes in. The more partners that she has, the lower your when you take a DNA test percentages. So you go from 99.99999 to like 98 or 97 or or 96. So yeah, you're at 96.95. That means that there's 4% of this child belongs to another dude or several dudes, right? We don't think about that part. We just say, well, the majority of the DNA belongs to one person, and that person is the father, the majority shareholder of the child's DNA, right? You would, well, some of that might be the mom. No. You're comparing how much of the child's male DNA belongs to me and how much of the child's female DNA belongs to her, right? So out of the child's male DNA, if 96% of it is mine, then 4% of the male DNA in this child belongs to another man. So when you say body count don't matter as long as they don't currently have any STDs, even if she's willing to be exclusive, let's think of like Amanda Danger. Y'all know that girl. If she walked up to you and was like, "Oh, I'll be your wife," you'll be like, "Nah, bro, I'm straight." Because at the end of the day, you already know what she's been doing. You done seen all the videos. You already know what she's done. You know what she's been, right? Yeah, she might be something to do. And this is the thing: the mindset of men. is that it doesn't matter what your body count is if you are a jump off. So if I'm going to sleep with you like every other guy slept with you, I'm not opposed to my personal preferences and my standards just to sleep with you. Because my standards to sleep with you is not my standards to commit to a lifelong partner. And every man has two levels of standards. One standard that men have is that you have to have a pulse and be of legal age, because if it wasn't for the legal age situation where you go to jail, a lot of men would be aiming a lot lower in age. Whether people agree with that or not, it is the truth. You've got certain countries around the world where the legal age is like 16 and 13, and they're getting involved. So from the primal perspective, just to sleep with a girl, you've got primarily, she's got to have a pulse and be of legal age. The level of attractiveness is going to be the level of arousal and the level of effort that a man is going to put into trying to sleep with that girl. But that's just sleeping with the girl. He can have every red flag that you would prefer to avoid. But if you're sleeping with this girl with very little effort, those red flags don't matter. Now, when you start talking about long-term commitment, the kind of girl that you would have had a one night stand with is not the kind of girl you would have as a wife. The kind of girl that you would have had a one night stand with or frequent one night stands with, you would not want to be the mother of your children. Now, you can't control it if she ends up being the mother of your children, but that wouldn't be what you would choose to say, my child's mother is a retired porn star. No man would say that. Nobody would say, oh, yeah, that's what I want. I can't help it if it happens, but no man is going to say that's what I want. Right. So body count does matter. Body count matters a lot. The body count matters to men as much as the man's financial standard matters to women. That's going to be the truth. Women are insecure about talking about their body counts because they can't take it back. They can't change it. Once they've done it, it's done. A man doesn't want to be disqualified for his financial income, but a man is more willing to talk about his financial income because he can change that. I can go from being a broke ass dude to being a successful guy with 1 or 5 financial decisions, but you can't go from being a 304 to being a none. You are just a retired 304, but a 304 nonetheless. So there is no way that her body count can be redacted. But my bankruptcy can be taken off of my report after 10 years. My charge-offs can be taken off after 7 years. My poor status can be changed with hitting a lottery, with getting a good job, with settling a massive legal action and then making better financial decisions, with an inheritance, with you know what I'm saying? All I got to do is just be added to the right beneficial scenario, and my financial status changes. And the past, however many years of me being a broke dude, no longer matters because now I'm not broke. But for her body count is excessively important because the 304 she once was will always have that expectation in the back of your mind for her to become that again. Because you got to think about this. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Once an addict, always an addict. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Once a whore, always a whore. So there's no way that you could tell me that she could retire from being a free spirit and you not think in the back of your mind when she's not where she said she was going to be, not answering her phone and late to show up, that you're not thinking that she being ran through by somebody wherever she at, even if she's not. And because of this, a lot of guys who are confident about themselves would prefer to see the value of the woman's virtue before marriage, before financial commitment. We're not seeing that value, right? Because an OnlyFans girl could be $1 million woman, but a man don't give a shit about her money. He is still not going to get with that girl beyond a one night stand, maybe 2 or 3 night stand, but he's not going to marry that girl for her money. Right? Because his value in her is not her money. And then if she's got that money and then she want to be an alpha boss lady and dominate the man on top of that, at the end of the day, his masculinity is gone because she's going to be the masculine person in a relationship. So now there's no value in there because usually when women demasculate a man, they typically belittle him and shame him as well. So it's not going to end well for the dude, but then women are not attracted to the man once they've conquered him. So from the male's perspective, it is self-preservation more beneficial for the man to first and foremost make sure that he maintains his position as the masculine man in a relationship, and two, get a woman that is able to and willing to perform the feminine roles of the relationship. And if he doesn't have that, a lot of times, because that body count comes with a lot of trauma, and that trauma comes with a lot of resentment, and that resentment comes with a lot of retaliation, and that retaliation comes with a lot of feminist movement, unnecessary toxic behavior. You might just walk away from you might use the body count as a catalyst for her mental instability and say, hey, she'd have been ran through by 1,000 dudes. She's got 1,000 reasons to be fucked up in the head. I'm probably going to dial it down and probably stick with a chick that's closer to 300. At the end of the day, even though that number is high, you're still saying that there's a certain level of exposure to negative societal behavior patterns that you're not willing to put up with. And that is where the body count is gauged. It's going to be the same as how many times a car has been crashed. It's going to be the same as, how many times a man has filed bankruptcy. It's going to be the same. Donald Trump filed bankruptcy 6 times. He's a billionaire. But a lot of people will say that the first 4 times that he filed bankruptcy and the 5th time he was about to file bankruptcy, that he was one of the most financially irresponsible individuals, but he's one of the richest men in the country. Right? But his wife is a $50 million woman, separate from him. But she's $50 million and he's $4 billion. Right? She ain't even half a billion. She's $50 million and he's $4 billion. Do you understand how he is like 10 to 100 times more valuable than her? Her money don't mean shit to him. Her money is the taxes on his money. And when women understand that, that's when we understand certain things that you bring to the table that he values. You got to maintain that as women, because what you bring to the table that he values cannot be undone. What a man brings to the table that women value is built up over time. And since that's the case, women have to maintain that virtue. Now, that's the last comment we got for tonight. We're going to start because we got a lot of stuff going on tomorrow. I want you guys to make sure that y'all come through for those. We're going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I bring y'all this information to help y'all become higher value men. Y'all have to find the things in your life that are inside of your control that you don't like, and then put forth the effort to change those things, even if it means that you got to change the partner that you're dating, right? Then you're able to navigate around certain things that you can't control. Now, ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from a male's perspective, you too can make yourselves higher value women, but you have to proactively prioritize your 20 or 30-year plan, reverse engineer that to the things that you can do today, that you're willing to do today, and start sticking to that plan, right? Now, you keep your eyes and ears open. You're paying attention to the personality and characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, motivation, admiration, integrity of the man. You're able to know that this guy and his ability to achieve his goals is suitable for your ability to achieve your goals. And if your goals and his goals are in line with one another, where they don't have to be the same, but the outcome can be similar. And while y'all are both working for long-term satisfaction, not short-term gratification, you know that you have a partner that you can build with where the two of y'all can make it to $1 million faster than one. I say this on a regular basis. So recognizing that having two people with long-term gratification goals or long-term satisfaction goals instead of short-term gratification goals, then you guys can build a future that will be worth living in versus living in the moment today and forever struggling every day after the moment has passed. But if one of y'all is living in the moment and the other one's living for the future, you will always be in a conflictual relationship because one of you will be spending what the other one is saving. Or you'll be in conflict where you'll be trying to stop the person from spending what you're trying to save. Either way, those relationships don't last long. Now, we're gonna be following up with some new information that we got about the conflict with the Strait, and some observations on the potential for the $1.85 or $1.87 per gallon worth of gas that was being projected by Trump. We're gonna be talking to you guys about a lot of different things throughout the rest of the week that you guys can do to work on your finances, because we do have the dividend rotation strategy for June and July. So I want you guys to make sure that you pay attention to that, because we're going to be putting that up on the show this week as well. That's going to be going into the membership. And then we've got different countries around the world that we've got set up already. So make sure that you guys like and subscribe, and pay attention to the information that we got going on. Stephen, make sure that you update your YouTube app, update your cell phone software, and then if you're watching this from a computer, update the browsers on your computer, because a lot of updates have been happening on a lot of platforms over the past 30 days. And I mean, like Michael said earlier, it's like almost every 3 weeks there are updates being rolled out recently. So make sure that your stuff is at its most updated. That way, when we go live tomorrow, you have less issues. All right. I want to thank you guys for coming to tonight's show. Special shout out to OG Kicks, Michael, Steven, and then I'm just going to go throw out a special shout out for Claudia and Nicole, because I know those ladies come through whenever they have time to come through. I really appreciate y'all for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, and I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical